And it wouldn't be a week in New York without a little politics. New York City Public Advocate Jumaane Williams said this week that he's forming an exploratory committee for a potential run for governor. And Attorney General Letitia James appeared to inch closer to her own run for governor. She spoke to business leaders in New York City Thursday, and here was one telling moment.
Hope is the right segue to this next question. Are you running for governor?
So it was great. It was a wonderful breakfast. I'm so glad that all of you are here. It's a packed room. It really is. I am focusing on my work, putting my head down, serving all of you as the Attorney General, and I must leave you now to pursue that work. Thank you. God bless you.
And we've also got an update on that fund the legislature passed this year with COVID relief for undocumented people. Let's talk about it with Masara Makati from the Times-Union and Kate Lisa from Johnson Newspapers. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. Masara, I want to go to you first. You had a great story this week about the Excluded Workers Fund, which is, as I said, a COVID relief fund for undocumented people because they weren't eligible for other relief. So some immigrants are saying that there are barriers to this, that there are a lot of hurdles that make it not so open to a lot of people. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so essentially there are a few different documents that the immigrants have to apply for the funds. But the nature of a lot of the work that undocumented immigrants have and the way that they live their lives makes it more difficult for them to get those funds. For example, a lot of immigrants are cash employees, right? They get paid with cash. But you have to have like a W-2 form or a pay stub or something to submit when you're applying for the funds to show that you lost out on a certain amount of money during the pandemic. When you're a cash worker, where are you going to get those W-2s from?
Right.
Where are you going to get the pay stubs? Exactly. So undocumented immigrants will then have to go to their employer to ask them for some sort of a letter or documentation to say that they got paid X amount of money during this time period. Obviously, that can be a really scary thing to do. There have been stories of undocumented immigrants who have gone to employers asking for those letters that end up getting fired. One undocumented immigrant I spoke with, she said that there are so many people in her community who she knows where the bosses just refused to give them anything. You know, the suspicion is that maybe it's just because they're getting away with not paying taxes on their employees and they don't want to have to do that, right?
There's that.
So that's like one barrier that a lot of undocumented immigrants have been facing in accessing the funds. The other one is providing proof of residence.
Right.
That's a huge one. You have to show where you live. Now, we have Greenlight Now, which is great for the undocumented immigrants because they can have that driver's license that shows where they live. But what if they don't have that driver's license? Or what if they just haven't gotten it yet? They have their learner's permit. Or what if they're not even planning on getting a license because maybe they live in the city? So then they have to submit a utility bill. But maybe the utility bill isn't in their name because they have roommates. Maybe it's in their roommate's name. So the list goes on and on and on of ways that it can be really difficult for undocumented immigrants to show their proof of residence. The final thing that's been really challenging is the funds are running out.
That's what I was going to ask you about. So we don't even know, like if you're applying for it right now, you don't know if you're going to get the money.
No, as of last Friday, the Department of Labor put a disclaimer on their website saying, you know, if you apply, your application will still be considered, but we can't guarantee that you're going to get any funds. When advocates initially advocated for the Excluded Workers Fund, they asked for $3.5 million. They got $2.1 million. They asked for 3.5 because they knew that that was at least how much they needed for the community in New York State. You know, but the applications have been open it started on August 1st. The applications opened on August 1st, so about 2 months now. But most of the applications were submitted the week that the DOL put up that disclaimer. So it was like the week prior to that Friday that most of the applications were submitted. Why? It's because it takes a lot of organizing to, you know, figure out the support and the resources to help undocumented immigrants submit their applications for these funds. So it took a while for organizations, especially upstate, right, because they're not as concentrated as they are down in New York City, to you know, figure out what they were going to do and how they were going to process this whole thing and get the word out to the community and help them figure out, you know, proof of residence. Some people started looking at family court documents or using traffic violations to provide proof of residence.
I don't want to cut you off. I want to get to Kate before we run out of time. But I'm really interested to see what lawmakers do about that in January when session starts, or maybe before that.
Yeah.
Speaking of next year, Kate, we already have some primary challengers maybe to the governor. Jumaane Williams forming an exploratory committee. Tish James maybe jumping in. What's the temperature like right now?
Rising, for sure. You know, it's interesting because we're still more than a year out from the 2022 governor's election. So it's really starting to get interesting, especially because we had some people like New York City Public Advocate Jumaane Williams really open kind of, I guess it's unofficial kickoff to the primary, really. And then we had Governor Hochul kind of come back yesterday, Thursday of this week, saying that, you know, she's not going to comment on that kind of thing about the race. She's not focusing on gossip with politics right now, right? So
I mean, like, yeah, sure. I mean, publicly, yes. Behind closed doors, I'm sure that's different.
Absolutely, but we aren't getting the discourse yet. But it'll be interesting to see as he opens that committee and who else teases throwing their hat in the ring, because that it will make a big difference with the New York, I guess the upstate versus the downstate voters, because Jumaane Williams obviously has that stronghold as a Brooklynite.
Oh, yeah.
Tish James, obviously Attorney General James, is from Brooklyn also, and they kind of are farther to the left a little bit than Governor Hochul has kind of self-described herself as a more moderate, she's kind of centrist Democrat. So it will really be telling of what direction I think the Democratic Party might be going in the state.
And in about 45 seconds, do you think that this is a repeat of 2018 where somebody jumps in the race and drives maybe Governor Hochul even further to the left, like how Cynthia Nixon basically forced Cuomo's hand on marijuana?
Right. That is totally possible, because since Governor Hochul is from upstate, right? I mean, now she has Lieutenant Governor Benjamin, who is from Harlem, so she's got her upstate downstate balance for her ticket. Mm-hmm. But I do think to appeal to those voters down there, that more far left, it could push some of her politics far left as the next year unfolds. So we'll have to see what happens.
We'll see. It's going to be really, really interesting.
Exciting. Yeah.
Kate Lisa from Johnson Newspapers, Masara Makati from the Times-Union. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.